In the endless night of the cosmos, where stars are but flickers in the abyss and empires burn like fleeting candles, an ancient question reverberates through hollow cathedrals and forgotten vox chambers. Who dares to grasp the mantle of Terra's wrath when gods themselves cast shadows beneath their might? This is the whisper that heralds the tale of Captain Titus, a warrior forged not just in the crucible of war, but in the unspeakable torment of loyalty, sacrifice, and the unyielding will to endure. The Imperium's bell tolls over a despoiled galaxy, where knights clad in ceramite step through the ruins of dying stars, carrying the legacy of a forgotten age. Titus was not merely chosen. He was claimed by something older, darker, and more terrible than the endless war itself, a price unmeasured, hidden beneath the guise of honor and duty. Through the shattered planets of the Segmentum Obscurus, the scions of the Emperor fight in ceaseless campaign, where each victory is etched in blood and bone. Titus, a paragon among the Ultramarines, was plucked from the ranks after a siege that left the throne of a world toppled and sanctuaries drowned in fire. His induction was not ceremony, it was a reckoning. The consecrators spoke in ciphered tongues, their faces obscured behind relic masks, and their words weighed heavy with portent. To carry the Emperor's wrath is to carry the void within. They entrusted Titus with a relic of eldritch power, known only as the Veil of Perdition, a gift wrapped in damnation. No one knew how it would bend his soul. The veil whispered to Titus in the midnight hours, a chorus of the dead pleading, a symphony of forgotten battles calling him to depths beyond mortal comprehension. It showed visions of futures where humanity was crushed beneath endless tyrannies, where the brightest heroes turned to dust, and the darkness suffocated hope itself. Each revelation carved into Titus's mind fractures that no man should bear. The cost of his rightful place among the Emperor's chosen was a slow erosion of his spirit, a shattering of the very faith that had made him strong. Yet, within that fracture, a seed of something else began to stir, a question that gnawed at the foundation of his loyalty. The enemies of mankind sensed it too, the currents in the warp shifting around him, a storm growing in the silent spaces of his mind. Chaos cultists, Xenos assassins, and traitor psychers converged upon him like vultures, drawn by the ripple of the Veil's power. In battle, Titus became a whirlwind of righteous fury, yet in the quiet moments between blood and fire, he felt the chains loosen, the shadows creep closer. The brothers of his company watched with a mixture of awe and dread as the once unbreakable commander showed signs of torment no prayer could soothe. His eyes, once clear as Ultramar's skies, became pools reflecting the void. The chronicles speak of a single battle on the forsaken world of Vrethus, where a warp rift tore through reality itself. Amidst the chaos, Titus led a charge that shattered the enemy's bulwark, but at a terrible price. The veil pulsed uncontrollably, opening glimpses into realms where angels wept and demons whispered secrets of damnation. The ultramarine captain found himself straddling the brink of madness, pulled between duty and the unbearable knowledge of what lay beyond the Emperor's gaze. His victory was Pyrrhic. It saved a world but cost the souls of his closest comrades, lost not to enemy fire but to the void that the veil had rent into their minds. Returning to the fortress monastery of Macragge, Titus was hailed as a hero, yet within the sanctum's hallowed halls, his presence was a silent wound. As the chaplains interrogated his spirit, echoes of forbidden murmurs clung to his voice, and the librarians hesitated where he stood. The most ancient archives revealed none who had borne the veil's burden and lived unchanged. Even the High Lords watched warily, sensing that the captain's destiny was entwined with secrets Terra dared not face. Whispers crept through the shadows had Titus stumbled upon a truth that might unravel the very fabric of faith. One night, beneath the watchful gaze of golden statues and staring reliquaries, Titus confessed his visions to an elder chaplain, a secret that would fracture brotherhood and faith alike. The veil had shown him fragments of a universe where the Emperor's light was flickering, not eternal, where the timelines twisted and reformed like chaos itself, and where humanity might not be the final masters of fate. The words lingered in the darkness, a forbidden prophecy that warred with the code of the Adeptus Astartes. To speak it aloud was to court heresy. To silence it was to invite doom. Now, the captain walks both shadow and light, a man burdened beyond redemption. His steps echo in corridors where statues bleed memories and portraits fade. The veils wait, a constant whisper at his throat. The question persists, haunting the silent spaces between duty and oblivion. What cost is too great when the fate of the Imperium teeters on the edge of a blade? The answer lies hidden in the depths of the veil, sealed behind Titus's steady gaze. Yet beneath his calm, a fracture grows, a subtle, trembling crack in the timeline's veneer. Something watches, waiting to step through. And in the silence that follows, the universe holds its breath, awaiting the moment Captain Titus will learn what it truly means to be chosen, and what it will mean when that choice begins, to undo everything he has sworn to protect. Beneath the vaulted heavens of Macragge, where ancient banners strain against the cold void, and the scent of sanctified oil mingles with ash, the echoes of doubt begin to stir. The venerable chaplains gather in whispered conclave, their voices a litany of prayer and portent. They speak not just of the enemy without, but of the turmoil within the souls pledged to the Emperor's eternal crusade. Titus, once the shining bastion of unwavering faith, now carries a burden inscrutable, an affliction that bends light and shadow together in his gaze. Each step he takes reverberates against invisible fractures in belief, cracks through which heresy and despair seep like poison into sacred hearts long assumed unbreakable. The warrior brothers of his company find their faith tested amid quiet glances and hushed murmurs. Banners that once soared aloft now flutter with the weight of unspoken fears. In the grim silence beyond battle's roar, disciples of the Emperor's truth wrestle with shadows that creep beneath the surface visions granted by the veil that twist commandments into questions and questions into blasphemies. The librarians, guardians of the psychic mysteries, grow wary. Their cogitations reveal disturbing patterns in Titus's mind, spectral fingerprints of a power both profound and forbidden. They meet in secret vaults, exchanging grim omens, uncertain whether their brother remains a shield or has become a dagger aimed inward. Of all who serve under Macragge's gilded roof, none bear such a heavier mantle than the Adeptus Ministorum. Ecclesiarchs and confessor priests tread the fractured paths of faith and politics alike, their whispered prayers a shield and a blade. They watch Titus as one watches the slow burn of a sacred relic, hoping it will not consume the chapel entire. Petitions to the High Lords of Terra ask for guidance that never truly arrives, leaving shadows to deepen in the corridors of power. Some speak of a celestial mandate bending beneath the weight of reality, while others murmur of an unholy alliance brewing in the warp's darkest corners, an alliance that thrives on faith broken and trust betrayed. The warp itself churns with eldritch purpose as the great web of fate stretches thin. Subtle disturbances ripple through the labyrinthine currents, sensed only by those attuned to its hidden song. A cabal of rogue psychers, drawn not by hatred, but by incomprehensible curiosity, edges closer to forbidden knowledge. They seek the locus of Titus's torment, believing the captain's plight a key to unraveling the Emperor's own secrets hidden within the warp's endless night. Their rituals, veiled in deceit and desperation, bring forth shadows that twist, licking like flames at the edges of reality, threatening both body and mind. The veiled truth grows less veiled with each sacrament spilled in secret. It is amid this tempest of doubt and destiny that treachery blooms, not from the enemy warbands beyond, but from within the fortress itself. A whisper threads through the ranks, unnamed but potent. An ancient relic, sacred beyond reckoning, has been tampered with, corrupted by a hand sworn to loyalty. This subtle act of betrayal fractures the fragile order, planting seeds of mistrust that poison brotherhood. Titus, burdened yet resolute, confronts the betrayal not with fury but with a haunted acceptance. He knows that the true war is no longer fought with bolters and blades, but with allegiance, perception, and the soul's tether to the Emperor's light. As the moonlit cathedrals witness silent prayers, a spectral visitation shatters the night's fragile calm. A vision unfolds, an apparition of a primarch long thought lost to legend, speaking in tongues that fracture the mind and stir old fires in the Emperor's Chosen. The words spoken are a prophecy not of doom, but of awakening, an unveiling of truths that have long been buried beneath millennia of holy doctrine. The throne world trembles as the shadow of an ancient betrayal stretches from time immemorial, revealing the cost of salvation, woven into sacrifice deeper than any battle. The vessel of faith now carries a storm. And just as certainty begins to crumble, a cataclysmic event rends the fortress monastery, a sudden violent breach in the contours of reality itself. The veil pulses with malignant light, tearing brief corridors into the warp where impossible things crawl forth, seen by Titus alone. A whisper threatens to shatter the boundary between destiny and oblivion, that the suffering borne by the chosen captain is but a thread in a tapestry far vaster and darker than even the Emperor's vision dared to chart. All eyes disappear. The very sanctity of Macragge hangs in balance. The war is no longer what it seemed. Salvation and damnation now walk hand in hand, and the ultimate price has yet to be paid. Under the dying light of a nova-sundered star, where the void stretches interminable and silence holds sway like a shroud, a lone helmet rests beside a shattered reliquary captain, Titus's confession carved not in words, but in the trembling echoes of his soul. The Imperium, vast as it is fractured, clings to fragments of faith, yet within the hearts of its defenders, doubt festers like rust upon sacred steel. Each prayer offered beneath vaulted cathedrals is a plea whispered into darkness, a flickering candle refusing to be snuffed by the cold indifference of the cosmos. Titus's torment is no longer his alone. It has become a mirror to all who bear the Emperor's name in a galaxy unraveling thread by thread. Far from the sanctified halls of Macragge, war screams in planetary furnaces, forging destinies in torrents of flame and blood. Space Marines clash with foes as ancient as the stars themselves. Xeno's horrors spill their malice with every surge. And agents of chaos dig claws beneath both mind and bone. Yet amidst these brutal symphonies, a quieter agony gnaws at the imperial psyches, the knowledge that the foundation of their struggle might be a lie crafted over eons, a deception so profound it could rend worlds asunder. This fracture in belief is the slow seeping shadow that stalks the unyielding faith of humanity's last bastions. In the void-lit sanctums of warbands battling beneath dying suns, Titus's name surfaces like a curse and a prayer entwined. To some, he's the fallen paragon, a herald of ruin concealed beneath noble armor. To others, the reluctant bearer of forbidden knowledge meant to save or damn the Imperium. Yet in the deepest chambers of his mind, where madness and clarity fused like twin flames, the captain wrestles with a vision of the Emperor not as God-King, but as a prisoner of a cosmic game far beyond human reckoning. This revelation shatters the veneer of sacred history, replacing it with an ancient design buried beneath millennia of blood and lies. The librarians, seers of the warp's inscrutable currents, speak in whispers riddled with dread. Their communion with the Imperium reveals that the genesis of the Great Crusade may have been tainted not by the darkness of foes, but by a silence from the Emperor himself, a silence that birthed not just unity, but a cage. The very web of fate that ensnares all mortals is constructed on forgotten sacrifices, a pact formed with entities older than the star's first heartbreak. As these truths unravel, Titus's suffering appears less as an isolated torment and more like a thread pulled from the tapestry of cosmic tyranny, threatening to unravel the entire mythos that has sustained mankind's hope. In the binary dawn above a world raised by relentless conflict, Titus kneels in the ash of ruined chapels, a ghost among memories. Faces of fallen brothers flicker in his mind, a litany of names, each a testament to faith tested and broken. Their sacrifices echo louder than any hymn, yet he questions the cost of their blood. What purpose endures when the foundation's light flickers under the weight of eldritch deception? Even the Adeptus Mechanicus mutters of machinery and knowledge beyond human ken, relics veined with secrets ancient as the warp's shadowed tides, suggesting a creation narrative infused with contradictions, a genesis haunted by forbidden's creation. The political shadows of Terra grow dense as factions vie for control. High lords exchange coded threats veiled in rhetorics of loyalty, while the ecclesiarchy, fractured by whispers of heresy, struggles to maintain a semblance of divine will. In this crucible, Titus's revelations become a weapon, a symbol, or a threat depending on the hand that wields it. The weight of power bends beneath whispers, and trust fractures like stained glass beneath the hammer of doubt. Each alliance and betrayal refines the contours of a greater collapse, a slow unmaking of empires built on unshaken faith and the blood of billions. Amidst these unfolding tempests, the warp pulses with malignant intelligence. Psychers, both loyal and damned, feel the birth of a new abyss, a rift not born of chaos but of forgotten origin, where the veil between past and present fractures. Titus's veil of perdition hums in resonance with this rift, suggesting a connection not predicated on allegiance, but on primal, inscrutable force. Visions bleed in dreams, threading futures where not even the Emperor's light will penetrate. The captain's mind is a battleground where time slashes itself, inviting both salvation and destruction in terrifying symbiosis. It is during a ritual deep within the catacombs of Macragge that truth claws its way to flesh and bone. An ancient tome, unearthed amid cryptic sigils and forbidden rites, reveals a harrowing secret. The Emperor's ascension was not the dawn, but the dusk of a cosmic cycle, a desperate gambit against a force older and more terrible than chaos itself. This revelation reframes every crusade, every sacrifice, every prayer offered in the Emperor's name. Titus, burdened by this newfound knowledge, stands at the precipice of rebellion, not against the Imperium, but against the cosmic lie that sustains it. As the cardinal hour draws near, Titus undergoes a transformation that chills his brethren to their core. The veil's power consumes him, not with fire, but with revelation, reshaping his form and mind into something neither wholly man nor wholly immortal. His eyes open to the true nature of the universe, a lattice of existence where free will is a flicker, and fate's loom is guided by forgotten architects. The shape of destiny bends beneath his feet, and he becomes both harbinger and prisoner of a new age. The cost is unthinkable. To save the Imperium, he must first destroy the myth upon which it was built. In the shattering silence that follows, beneath the gaze of that dying star, Titus's final confession echoes through the void. Salvation is not found in faith or fire, but in the unbearable acceptance of a truth too vast for mortal minds. The galaxy holds its breath as the first cracks appear in the edifice of eternity, and a hidden hand begins to rewrite the saga of gods and men, forever altering the course of the eternal war. In the shadow of eternal watchfulness, where stars are drowned in the black tide of oblivion, the weight of choices made echoes like the tolling of a forgotten bell. Captain Titus stands at the fulcrum of fate, a figure carved from anguish and resolve, bearing wounds older than the wars that have scorched 1,000 worlds. Every vow sworn beneath the Emperor's banner now lessens a razor's edge, a sacred promise teetering on the ledge of irrevocable ruin. Around him, the galaxy's fabric twists and frays, as betrayals bleed into faith, and the silent graves of oathbreakers gather beneath cold stone. The cost of devotion is written in the blood of brothers, and the unspoken grief of those compelled to march ever onward, even as the light wanes. The silence before the storm is a living thing, a suffocating weight that presses on the chest of every warrior poised beneath the darkened skies. In the hushed corridors of Macragge, the hum of power armor flickers like a dying heartbeat, while outside, orbital forces circle like vultures, ready to unleash annihilation. The gathering tempest of war mirrors the turmoil within Titus's soul fury curbed, destiny delayed, and the quiet dread of the final reckoning. Flashbacks splinter his consciousness, the faces of fallen brothers, their bloodied visages a litany of prayer and pain, glimmer in the void. Each memory is a scar, every loss a sacrament carved into the eternal forge of his will. The Imperium reels under the slow decay of its foundations, where loyalists and heretics alike clutch at remnants of truth twisted by desperation. Archmagos Dominus Varchus, a figure shrouded in equal parts reverence and fear, presses for answers buried deep in the machinery of time. His cogitators churn with fragmented data harvested from lost worlds, torn between reality and the warp's seductive embrace. His revelations speak in riddles, decoded transcripts suggesting the Emperor's primacy might be conditional, a fragile construct sustained by force, fear, and fragile hope. Varchus's loyalty bends beneath the weight of these revelations, his faith a crucible of doubt and ironclad will as he confronts the implications for the machine and the man. Across the galaxy, commanders whisper of shifts in allegiance and strange phenomena in the warp, a fractured symphony of souls crying out beneath the Emperor's throne. Rogue psychers and chaos cults exploit the fractures, weaving threads of corruption that spread through spacefaring fleets and fortress worlds alike. Yet even amidst this chaos, acts of fierce loyalty endure. A silent sister kneels in prayer beside the decomposed remains of a devastator squad, her whispered prayers a fragile light combating the dark. These moments of devotion, small and ephemeral, become hymns to endurance against a fate that threatens to consume all. Each soldier's burden grows heavier, every mission a climb up a bloodied mountain with no summit. Titus's company moves at his command, a phalanx of faith and steel battered by war and shadow. Each battle is a crucible where loyalty is tested, where the line between salvation and damnation blurs beneath the roar of bolter fire and the screech of Xeno's shrieks. Orders are carried out with grim determination, but beneath the armor, doubt festers. The company chaplain's sermons echo hollowly, his voice a beacon struggling against the encroaching void. The monks of the library read omens in the stars, and their prophecies grow darker with each turn of the Stygian pages. The veil's unrelenting whisper gnaws at Titus's resolve, even as he steels himself to lead the final charge. On the shattered moon of Helios V, a pivotal rally point, Titus confronts a mosaic of memories and inevitabilities. The blood-soaked soil beneath his feet hums with echoes of ancient giants and forgotten wars. Here, amid the craters and ruined sanctuaries, Titus's mind fractures anew visions of primarchs twisted by time and fate, sermons turned to dirges, and a silent galaxy watching its children fall. He remembers a time before the veils of secrecy, when the Emperor was a beacon and not a prisoner, and the unbearable weight of loss crushes down. Each breath is a prayer, each heartbeat a countdown toward the apocalypse whispered by the stars themselves. Meanwhile, the political machinery grinds with cold inevitability on Terra. In the Hall of Terra's silent echoes, high lords convene beneath the watchful eye, their dialogue a dance of shadows and half-truths. Some advocate desperate measures, sealing away the dark secrets that Titus carries. Others see in his fall the seeds of revolution. Pale faces betray the cost of centuries of lies, each word a blade striking unseen arteries of power. Ecclesiarchy and Inquisition alike struggle to present unity, but the schisms deepen like a gulf too wide to bridge. The Imperium's heart beats unevenly, its rhythm broken, its purpose uncertain. The warp screams as the veil thins swarms of demonic tears, breach the edges of reality, heralding chaos unbound. Titus's veil pulses in furious cadence, a beacon to entities lurking beyond. Ruptures open like wounds, spilling visions of hellscapes where gods wept and fell. His mind becomes a battleground where flashes of revelation blaze and die truths about the Emperor's origin, the nature of the warp, and the machinery of fate itself. He senses that this inexorable tide is both his torment and salvation intertwined. To resist is to perish. To submit is to become the harbinger of forgotten nightmares. In an ancient vault buried beneath Macragge, a ritual unfolds, an unholy meeting cloaked in the guise of sanctity. Voices chant in arcane tongues as relics pulse with cosmic energy. Alliances forged in shadow are revealed. Here, Titus faces those who have manipulated the strands of fate for their own gain, priests, psychers, and lords of the Mechanicus whose ambitions threaten to sever the final ties between truth and legend. He confronts betrayal not born of malice alone, but necessity. A grim calculus where the price of survival may be the erasure of faith itself. The line between ally and adversary dissolves into ash. As the storm reaches its zenith, Titus undergoes a transformation both physical and spiritual, marked by the veil's unyielding grasp. His flesh shimmers with warp-lit veins, his eyes glowing with the knowledge of cosmic designs. He steps forward from the ritual chamber, no longer mere man, but an avatar of fate itself, a living fracture in the Imperium's fragile continuum. The galaxy holds its breath. Worlds tremble as unseen forces prepare to remap the stars. The captain's legacy will either redeem or doom humanity, an uncertain threshold upon which the fate of all balance precariously. Then, as the skies above Macragge ignite with prelude to devastation, a shattering revelation rends the fabric of certainty. The Emperor, the master of mankind, may not be the savior but the prisoner of a cosmic conspiracy more profound than heresy or war. The entire legend, the basis of the Imperium's existence, becomes a whispered question scribed in shadow. Titus's new form pulses, a living cipher, as the first salvo of orbital bombardment rends the heavens, tearing open the night and heralding the dawn of a truth that could annihilate everything. The eternal war has reached its apex, and the price of choice is yet unknown. The heavens ruptured with fire. Bolts of annihilation tore through the void, shattering silence into shards of light and ruin. Captain Titus, clad in warp-lit ceramite, stood amid the storm, his form a monument to fractured faith and relentless duty. The veil thrummed violently against his chest, a heartbeat of cosmic defiance as the sky above Macragge yielded to orbital devastation. Every breath was a prayer, every step a dirge. Around him, the sons of the Emperor rallied, their cries lost in the roar of destruction, their souls woven into the tapestry of sacrifice that marked this day above all others. Fires bloomed across the fortress walls, divine sigils cracked beneath searing blasts, and the air thickened with the odor of burnt synapse and scorched memory. The enemy was close lurking, twisting, a shadow clad in the promise of final annihilation. Titus's gaze sliced through the chaos, sharp as the ancient blade at his side. He saw the company fall, brother after brother, each death a fracture in his own being. The weight of command was the weight of a world bleeding. Rage and sorrow fused into unyielding resolve. The silence between explosions was a void swallowing all hope. Fragments of vision splintered in Titus's mind, his brothers' faces. Shattered worlds, the Emperor's throne, each a shard of a broken cosmos. He remembered the weight of the veil, the forbidden truth it bore, and the hidden chains concealed beneath the mantle of divinity. This was the war within the war, the struggle against fate's cruel decree. Tears slipped beneath his visor, unfallen to the ravages of war. The fragility of faith lay bare amidst the unending conflict. The galaxy's blood was his own, each heartbeat a thunderclap of despair and hope intertwined. The breach in reality widened, a gash in time itself, spilling horrors born of forgotten realms and agony unfathomable. Titans of nightmare crawled clawing through the rift, monsters of myth and void, unbound by natural law. The battle was desperate, a symphony of sharp metal and cries that echoed into infinity. Titus called the charge, a beacon in the storm, calling out all that was left of his soul, and creed to hold the line. Time fractured, moments cascaded and collapsed, each gunshot a hammer strike on destiny's anvil. Beneath the roar, silence spoke a whispered lament of fallen heroes, each name a sigh on the lips of ghosts. Titus knelt among the ruin, hand on a shattered standard, voice cracking with the weight of a vow unbroken, a prayer whispered to a god silent in his throne. The veil pulsed once, then shattered, sending ripples through the Imperium, a final offering. In that breath, the air thickened with ancient secrets, the Emperor's true nature, the debt owed to cosmic architects, the sacrifices beneath the veneer of legend. What was salvation if it was built upon chains? What was faith if it demanded such ruin? Faces of fallen brothers flickered in spectral tableau, the light of their sacrifice burning quietly against the growing dark. Titus's final gaze met the distant stars, cold, immense, unblinking witnesses to a cosmos indifferent to mortal plight. A tremor passed through the fabric of reality. The lines between dream and truth blurred beneath the cosmic weight of revelation. The price of salvation was etched deep within his flesh, a chalice of blood and memory brimming with despair and reluctant hope. The cosmos awaited its reckoning as the echoes of war faded into fragile stillness. In the deathly quiet that followed, the company was no more only a monument of fallen steel and bone, wreaths of flame curling against the black. The fortress pulsated with shadow, an old wound reopened, yet healing beneath the grasp of time's indifferent hand. Titus, transformed, no longer solely man or angel, but an avatar of fate's fractured will, stood solitary, a sentinel amidst the ash of countless worlds and broken oaths. His silhouette was a question suspended in the void. What remains when all that was believed is undone? Far above, on distant Terra, the high lords and ecclesiarchs sensed the tremor of change, a shattering in the sanctified order they had maintained through countless heresies and wars. Subtle shifts in allegiance whispered of rebirth or ruin, a reweaving of reality's threads with shadows cast by ancient conspiracies now stirred from endless slumber. The eternal throne flickered in its darkness, its light no longer sure, its promise a fragile ember flickering against the vast cold of space. Faith itself reeled, exposed to the naked star's silent gaze. The final revelation unfolded quietly, a data scroll unearthed from beneath millennia of encrypted secrecy. Within its digital scripture, an immutable truth burned. The Emperor's ascendance was a binding pact with forces beyond mortal ken, a cosmic bargain that imprisoned both savior and empire alike. This truth upended gods and men, heroes and villains, faith and heresy. Titus carried the weight of this knowledge, his form glowing with the eerie light of forbidden lore, as he prepared to become both martyr and prophet in a galaxy forever altered. As the scene fades, Titus turns toward the abyss, the weight of eternity folding upon his shoulders. Behind him, the shattering fortress breathes its last, an echo of grandeur and despair intertwined. In the silence, a latent power stirs something ancient, something eternal waiting patiently beyond the edge of light and shadow. The final word remains unspoken, the ultimate fate unwritten, but the war-weary stars have already begun to whisper of a new age born from the ruin of all that came before, a transformation both terrifying and sublime. The galaxy exhales a tired breath. Beneath the broken spires of a cathedral long abandoned, where stained glass shards lie scattered in dust, the war has quieted. The air is thick with the scent of rust and burnt incense, mingling over silent altars where prayers went unanswered. Ruins stretch like scars across forgotten worlds, their silent battlefields bearing the fading footprints of those who once denied the dark. Banners once vibrant with heraldry and hope hang limp tattered echoes of a grandeur now reduced to memory. The stars themselves seem to dim, as if mourning the cost of an eternal war that has swallowed light and faith alike, leaving only questions whispered into the void. In this twilight, the remembrancer records the last verses of a chronicle etched in sacrifice and shadow. Eldritch machinery hums softly under layers of dust, a distant echo of the Forge world's ceaseless endeavor. Their indifference to time is a cruel reminder that even the greatest deeds may fade into obscurity. Here lies the residue of faith shattered and reforged, the fragile persistence of hope trembling against the yawning darkness. The figures who once moved like thunder across the stars are now ghosts, their stories swallowed by silence. Does faith endure when its gods remain deaf? Can survival mean more than existence beneath an endless night? The remnants of Captain Titus linger in whispered legend, a man transformed by sacrifice and revelation, a vessel of cosmic truth weighed down by impossible burden. His footsteps fade beneath statues cracked by the passage of eras, his eyes closed against truths that fractured the very soul of mankind. The veil of perdition, now a relic of uncertain power, lies buried beneath the collapsing stone, a secret too dangerous to remember, yet too vital to forget. What measure of redemption remains when the Savior becomes the question? How does one hold love and loyalty when the foundations of reality tremble beneath betrayal's hand? Across the lightless expanse, the echoes of departed voices drift, memory's fragile flame flickering in the unyielding dark. The silent prayers of the Adeptus and Ecclesiarchy alike mingle with the ghostly hymns of lost brothers. Their sacrifice carved into the stars, their valor recorded only by constellations born of destruction. The warp's eternal shadow retreats, but not in surrender. It lingers in the spaces between, waiting, watching, timeless as the void. The question remains, was this eternal war fought for salvation, or the perpetuation of an unyielding lie? Faith survives, but what price does it pay when gods falter? The great machine world hums its dirge, lonely gears turning beneath an empty sky. In its ceaseless toil lies a quiet testament to endurance unfeeling, unwitnessed. It builds without question, an indifferent witness to the rise and fall of empires and the unraveling of centuries' worth of prayers. Even as stars die and empires fade, the machine endures, impassive and eternal. Does meaning exist beyond the endless cycles of war and ruin? Is there purpose in the repetition of sacrifice when hope is a whispered myth? In the shattered halls of imperial sanctums, the memory of battles fought and brothers lost is recorded with reverence that borders on solemn despair. Pages yellowed with age capture moments of valor, moments where faith burned brightest, and moments where even the bravest could only watch as the darkness claimed their light. The song of the eternal war allows no finale, only endless echoes that rebound across time. The question lingers: can a tale without an ending still inspire, or is it merely the dirge of a dying dream? Deep beneath the ruins, among the scattered bones and broken relics, the last echoes of the Imperium's secret struggles hide. These stories, once forbidden, are now whispers that drift like ghosts, faint and indistinct. The legacy of Captain Titus and those who stood beside him is a delicate thread in an unending tapestry woven by sacrifice and shadow. It is a tale told not in victory or defeat, but in the inexorable march toward a truth no one can fully grasp. What remains when the march finally ends? What awaits beyond whispered destinies and sacred ruins? The stars continue their slow dance through a sky unblinking, ancient, and indifferent. Celestial bodies burned by time's indifferent hand witness the fragile remnants of a war-torn galaxy, a cosmos where empires rise and fall like tides, and the light that once promised salvation is now a fading memory. The silent void holds its secrets well, refusing to yield answers to those who seek them with trembling hands. Questions without answers hang in the cold darkness like distant, unattainable beacons. For whom does the bell toll when all are lost? What is faith when gods have turned to shadows? And so, the curtain falls softly like dust drifting through a cathedral of stars, scattered and timeless, lingering just beyond reach. It is a moment suspend, a breath held, a whisper lost, where the past and future merge in solemn contemplation. The eternal war continues in silence, its story written in the blood of countless souls who dared to believe, to fight, to endure, even when the end was already written in the stars. The final lines remain unspoken, an invitation to bear witness. Now, dear viewer, stand with us in this twilight where legends fade and truths grow heavy. Remember the sacrifices, honor the shattered faith, and carry forward the ever-burning flame of hope amid the eternal darkness. If this chronicle stirred your spirit, like, subscribe, and share to preserve the memory. Speak your reflections in the comments and join the endless vigil under the gaze of the Emperor, where every story is both an end and a beginning.